I'm Craig Beaumont Flynn. Welcome to Beyond the Design, a show that gives you a peek behind the curtain of the design industry and shares the stories of those that are the driving force behind it. Well, welcome to Beyond the Design, and today we have with us Adam Hunter. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm just going to start off and ask you a question. Tell us about your journey, from Broadway star to interior designer. What inspired this transition?
I think we're born designers, right? You probably know that. You're born with an eye. So I was always doing it. My mom was in Architectural Digest for Cheap Chic in the 80s because she was someone who could find the greatest things in the garage sale in the estates. And I'm from Winnetka, Illinois, which is near Northwestern University. And so we would grow up, we were a few doors down from Holly Hunt. And we would always access her furniture. When she was done with it, she'd throw it out on the street. And we would go pick it up and put it in our house. This is like every year we got to do that. And that sort of helped form, from age 6, 7, 8 years old, I was looking at beautiful things through their eyes, which is really great. The transition from Broadway to interior design was that I was very lucky. I had a really good run on Broadway, and I was the one who was shopping with Patti LuPone and Julie Andrews and all the people to the flea markets before the matinees. So again, it was always sort of a part of my life. The quick version is I came out here to do a show called Ugly Betty. And then there was a writer's strike. This was in 2007 that sort of decimated Los Angeles. Maybe you're familiar with that. It was equally as the one we just had, or in my opinion, worse. And I had to figure out what to do. And I think it was Kelly, although I had to check this, who was doing the Kate Somerville Skin Health Clinic on Melrose Place.
Yeah.
And she got too busy, or I don't know, but she was unable to finish. She just had done about 10%, and I took over for her. And that was shot for Vogue and Time and all these great publications. So I rode Kate Somerville's press and PR, and overnight it sort of happened.
Like it does for most. It just happens overnight.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky in that sense. I didn't really even identify as an interior designer the first few years. I had wonderful clients. I was super lucky, but it was so not what I had thought I would be doing, but I was almost resistant to it. And it was my New York friends who were like, dude, maybe this is what you're supposed to be doing.
It's a calling, like you said, some people just have the natural knack for it, and it's in your sentences and your ability to see things in a different perspective, I guess.
Exactly.
So what were some of the biggest challenges changing from one career into designing?
I have one funny story. Desperate Housewives was the TV show, and Marcia Cross, who was on that show, had called to have a meeting with me as an interior designer. And then I also had an audition with her that afternoon for the show, because I was caught between the two worlds. So I didn't let her know at the audition that I was the person she'd spoken with on the phone earlier that day. But that's a really great example of sort of being caught in the two worlds. Neil Patrick Harris, who was one of my first clients and dear friends, I also knew from the Broadway world, and his husband and I went to college together at University of Michigan. So there was quite a bit of an overlap. One of the benefits I think I have as an interior designer is that I'm able to communicate really well with people and access them emotionally and psychologically. And I feel like that adds to the sort of psychic thing we all do, which is the fun of interior design, which is assessing our our clients, and figuring out what they look like in interior design, right?
True.
So I feel like that's a little bit benefit of a superpower that I feel like theater people who have transitioned into interior design, and there are a lot of us, believe it or not. David Rockwell is an amazing designer who is one of the most famous Broadway set designers. Martin Lawrence Bullard, of course, our friend, came from the theater too. So I do think there's something great in the language of it all.
True. It's taking those life experiences and translating into experiential environments for people.
Yes, exactly.
How do you describe your actual ethos, or your interiors are described as dynamic and bespoke? How do you define your own design style?
Restrained drama. That's
That's a first.
I like to say restrained drama because I am not restrained as a human being, but I feel, or at least my therapist feels, like my restraint does come out in my interior designs, which of course are very clean and symmetrical, but also very warm. I think that's
Mhm.
really inclusive words, that everything feels warm. Um, but I do like a little drama. I do like a pink lacquer dining room. And I do like stone is a passion for me and has been since I was a kid. And I have a great relationship with materiality in that sense. Um, yeah. So I guess my ethos would be restrained drama.
Restrained drama. Is there a Adam Hunter signature that you try to incorporate into each of your projects, or just your stamp?
It's a really good thing. My two biggest influences have been Holly Hunt as an interior designer, not as a showroom, but as a designer because I knew her growing up.
Mm.
And the way she approached things and the way she saw spaces. And I do feel like I am an echo of her. Someone who I also admire so much is David Collins. He was one of my primary influences, if you know him.
Mm.
He had done the London Hotel, which opened the same year or years as when I moved to Los Angeles. And I was so inspired by it. And so there's a little bit of glamour. There's a little bit of glamour, which is a word that clients are very fearful of. And
True.
I think that there's glamour in gorgeous Oscar gowns too, you know? So there's a little sparkle, there's a little, but just keep it quiet. That's what I mean by restraint. That's what I mean by
Mhm.
tying it back and editing, being very careful in your editing. Um, magic is a word we use in the theater, and magic is definitely a word that applies to interior design. As I'm evolving, I'm realizing that I'm really into the energetic interior design now. So I'm wanting to put meaningful things in your house, and sort of elevate your serotonin by your surroundings.
Hmm. Interesting. I like that. Well, as you mentioned, you've worked with many Hollywood elites. How do you tailor your designs to fit the unique personalities and lifestyle of those clients?
You know, that was another learn on the go sort of situation, which was great. Travis Barker was one of my firsts. And of course, he actually has great taste. Everyone thought it was sort of a rock star from Blink 182, so he had that
Mhm.
rock star taste, but that wasn't necessarily it at all. He was sort of into, that moment that was so big, you'll remember it in 2008. Kelly Wearstler did a wonderful job at employing the Hollywood Regency look. Um, what we did at Kate Somerville was sort of it was called the white room. So we sort of did a white version of what that would look like. And for Travis Barker, we did sort of a moody blacks and navies of the same look, though. So it wasn't just necessarily, headband, crazy, metal stuff. It
Mhm.
was actually very elegant. But how do you do that? You have to conform, you have to sort of interpret them through your lens.
Right.
Sutton Foster, who was a friend of mine from Broadway, who was an early client, had more of a folksy feel. I am not folksy. And she liked rustic, and I am not rustic. So we had to figure out what was our medium, which ended up being sort of light and bright glass,
Mhm.
glass windows, glass look, fresh, open. So I was able to incorporate some of her feelings to sort of find that marriage. Because at the end of the day, of course, as you well know, it's their home and they have to
Right.
feel comfortable in their home. But Neil is all about magic. So we did a magic room for him, which was actually, he puts in every home. And it
Hmm.
was really cool. The way you approached the room was a full movie poster that you looked just like a movie poster on a wall, but you grabbed it and you opened it, and behind it was the magic room.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So walk us through your process. What is your process as you get a new project?
My process is, I just think so much happens vibrationally in the beginning. You have to have a really good EQ as a
Mhm.
designer and space everything out. I want to visit their life. I want to see how they live currently. I want to see, do they have children? Is this a family home? Do they have dogs? Are they going to be obsessed with having everything out, exterior fabrics? There's the little things like that. And then there are the things like, what do you love? Do you love, are you a sommelier? Are you someone who collects? We've had so many different collectors. Of course, art collectors are great. We had one who was a famous rock crystal collector. So we did a whole room like that. So you sort of assess their life. I have a really great team. Two ladies, one of them is now my business partner. Danielle and Kaylee have been with me for 12 years, and I've only been around 13 years. So every step of the process, which is great. So, and they're very calm, and I'm very crazy. So it's a really good energy.
Balance.
Balance. And I think it's about feeling them. A lot of people now I have an Instagram presence, and many designers have an Instagram presence. So you're sort of drawn to their aesthetic and drawn to their look. People, like I said, stone. I always get clients who want to do amazing fireplaces and amazing kitchens and use beautiful stone and marbles. So it varies, but I think it's about really knowing your person. I'm sure that's what it is. It's really knowing your person. And then when you're lucky, working with amazing architects.
Right. It kind of balances out the creative flow, so to speak.
Exactly.
Well, what has been one of your most memorable projects to date, or few that you can really think of that's really defined you as a designer, but also kind of defined you as a creative in that process?
Wonderful question. We had a project in Leapers Fork, which is outside of Nashville, Tennessee.
I've been there,
yeah. And it was recently for sale, and it was the highest ticketed price ever in Tennessee, which was $65 million.
Wow.
And we built it from the ground up. It's 400 acres, and it was magnificent. I brought on Steve Giannetti, who's a wonderful architect in Los Angeles, now based in Nashville. He moved to Leapers Fork.
Really? Okay.
Danielle and I went every 6 weeks for 3 years. And we put in a zoo, a farm, a 3-acre lake that we dynamite. We had to dynamite the land to get the 3-acre lake, which is now you can fish and be on boats. There's a zip line. It sounds crazy, like Disneylandish, but it's very, very elegant. It's very the client I assessed, like I was talking about, he loved what the future looked like in the 1960s, sort of like Tomorrowland. So we employed that. He had the robot from Lost in Space, if you remember that TV show.
Oh, yeah. Warning.
Yeah, exactly. Will Robinson. We had that. And Jules Verne, he loved, this was also the rock collector. So there were really, really interesting things. And if anyone ever sees this Nashville property, it's magic. It's really and it made me feel very much like I had never led so many people. There were so many people involved, probably 75 people all the time. So it was really fun.
Sounds like an amazing project.
Yeah.
Well, you've been featured on House Beautiful's Next Wave list and Lux Interior Design's Gold list. How do these recognitions impact your career?
Oh, well, we're about to have the cover of Lux next month, which is great. It's a wonderful publication. I was lucky to be in Architectural Digest recently for my client who is the SVP of GOO. And it's lucky. I think it's a wonderful. House Beautiful happened so early on in my career. Nate Berkus gave me that award, which was so nice because, of course, I'm from Chicago, as is he. And I grew up watching him on Oprah. And it's exciting to sort of be involved in that aspect of everything. And I think it just enhances it. But I think I'm more in it for the psychological reasons. I'm more in it for the wish fulfillment.
What do you believe sets your work apart from the competition and competitive world of interior design?
Custom products. I have a beautiful line at the Rep Company that I'm very proud of that I've had for about 10 years. And our smoke rug is one of their top 3 sellers. And I've seen so many beautiful versions of it used by my peers and colleagues and people I admire. And that's always so fun to see because that's my own perspective put in other people's homes. Luxury technology. I built the first iPhone dock out of marble. And it was also quite a big moment. This was, again, a long time ago when people weren't using technologies and integrating them into your life. So I think having a great, I have a line of wallpaper with Fromental, which is a wonderful, beautiful, you know them, out of London, temperature.
Yeah.
And a metal line with Ammunil. And if you know Ammunil, he is one of my best friends. Adam Kamens runs the best metal company in the world, in my opinion. They do everything from the Empire State to all the Hermes, Gucci, Dior stores. And he's actually sharing his first Los Angeles showroom is opening up in my studio. So, yeah, here at Melrose in La Cienega, Los Angeles. So we're going to also feature all his metal. So it's cool to be aligned in these partnerships.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you looking to do more licensing or branding of Adam Hunter products?
Yes, I would love that. But I just want it to be something meaningful. I don't want it to just be, I want it to have a purpose. That's what I liked about the iPhone dock. It sort of it was a little disruptive in a good way at the moment, when that happened in the moment. I have a book coming out with Rizzoli, which I'm super excited about, called Safe Space.
Fantastic. Congrats.
Thank you. And a TV show for Apple TV, which is actually about energetic interior design, which is sort of Feng Shui 2.0, which is talking about the next level of how your home elevates your soul. It's more about feeling than it is about looking. And again, that's super interesting to me too, because it almost feels like a crossover into my former world on Broadway, because it is very much about how you feel, and it's how you feel in your home. It's not just important how fancy it is or how nice it is. It has to be evocative feel.
So when does the book come out, and what's incorporated in the book? Is it mostly your projects, or is it design ethos of Adam Hunter?
It is, and that was what it was originally. I'm the first person to tell you this, because I met with Rizzoli a couple of weeks ago and changed that. So I'd had that for a year, and I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to basically put on website or Instagram in a book. I felt like everyone had done it. People had done it brilliantly. So I wanted to do was talk to people who inspire me, and know what their safe spaces are like. What do they feel safe in? So Kelly Bean, who's a friend of mine, who's a wonderful interior designer, is doing it with me. We're going to Tom Ford, probably Kelly Wearstler, all the people who have been influential, David Collins in my life, Frank Gehry, actually, believe it or not. And Douglas Friedman and I will take pictures with them and have an interview. So yes, it will also be my work. It'll be my inspiration. It'll be my story. I will certainly show chief projects like the Nashville one I was telling you about, and some incredible ones we currently have. But I thought it would be really cool for designers to see where other designers feel their best. That, to me, is an interesting book.
So tell us a little bit about the TV show. When's that going to be launched on Apple TV?
That's hopefully going to be actually late next year. We're dealing with production companies on it. My sister is a very famous psychiatrist, so the show is actually the two of us coming to the people that we are meeting and about where they are in their life. And she approaches the show from a psychiatric neurochemical point of view, like brain mapping and like actually how you feel in your house. And I come to it from the design, what you can do to make yourself. Yeah, super cool.
Huh. Is there any particular project that you have not done that you still want to do, or a sector of the industry?
I haven't done a hotel in Paris. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be on top of my list.
That would be at the top of my list. We do have a really incredible project right now. We have in Beverly Hills, it's 70,000 square feet, and it's from the brothers who own the. Well, I should actually watch my mouth. There's an NDA on that, but it's it can be quite amazing because it's unlimited in every aspect, and I don't just mean financially. I mean, this is a client who wants us to reach for the stars, like Brand says, and find the most special, the most rare, the most fantastic things. So I marvel people employed all over the world right now, finding all the great quarries. And Yeah, lots of dreams.
Where do you find your inspiration for your designs? Are there particular sources or things that you look to that are consistent that you turn to?
Do you mean like sources, or do you mean like traveling, or do you mean like actual
Both.
sources? Okay,
Anything
traveling.
and all the above.
Traveling. When I was growing, this is going to seem something I like about how I feel different is that was not raised like some other very talented designers like Michael Smith, etc.
Mhm.
Had more of an art curator background. I was raised very much in the theater, and I feel like that lends itself to many possibilities, and that's why I have the word drama in what we do. And I think that having that presence, of feeling things. Yeah,
Right.
coming back to that, but it seems so more important to me than just visual because we're trained to do everything so visually. And I think it's just important about getting that feeling which comes from design. The rug company has always been one of my chief sources. I started out before I was an interior designer and I'd never seen fashion, which is the most important to me. That's where it all starts and stops. I haven't said that yet. And that's really important to know. Fashion, Diane von Furstenberg, Paul Smith, and Alexander McQueen had built lines at the rug company, and I was so enamored with the idea that you could move fashion to interiors. So I want to do that with my book. I want to do that with this next phase somehow, is integrate the two of them.
Fantastic. Can you share a personal story or experience that significantly shaped your approach to design that impacted you to saying, okay, this is the type of designer I want to be, or this is the path I'm going to take when I create?
What a great question, Craig. It was unequivocally the London Hotel in West Hollywood. Yeah. No question. I know I've said it already, but it was at the very early ages of me moving here. I was doing Ugly Betty. I very much identified as, I was a professional actor. And I was so overwhelmed at, talk about restrained drama, the glamour, the feeling of it. But it was so elegant. It was so British. It was so warm. It just was so evocative. And I remember thinking, wow, someone can do this where you walk in and you feel elevated and, it makes you feel a certain way. And that was powerful to me as opposed to growing up and looking at Holly Hunt's fine furniture. You know what I mean? There was this was an experience. This was theater. And that was the moment. So have you seen that hotel? Of course, now it's older.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I stayed there quite a few times when it first opened. I used to love going down the hallway late at night with that suede walls and making images or words or.
Yeah, that's so funny. No, but it was just such a feeling. Again, I know it's a little dated at this point, but it was such a,
It was a feeling. It had a certain vibe to it that you had not seen yet in the LA proper area. It was a little.
Yeah, in West Hollywood, especially, it just was so elevating. The pool and the hills, and it was so sophisticated. I don't know, grown up. I loved it. Sunset Tower, love Sunset Tower too. Who doesn't love Sunset Tower? True.
And it had a remnants of old Hollywood style, that luxury and that sparkle that kind of diminished after a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I love that too. So does Martin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably so does Kelly too. Like that's baked into the ethos of being a Hollywood interior designer.
Well, what upcoming projects are you most excited about?
We have some
besides the one you can't talk about.
Yes, I wish I could. It's super exciting. There have been lots of designers on it. Richard Landry is the architect, and it's been going on 7 years, and it hasn't been built. So we're the people who are going to get it built, and I'm excited about that. He also has a couple in Martha's Vineyard and one at the Aman in New York. We're doing those as well. 3 in Nashville, actually, which is great.
Really?
A couple of Discovery properties, which I love, Chileno Bay in Cabo, and the Troubadour is the one in Nashville. I'm from Chicago, and we have a few in Chicago right now. Oh, wait, this is a great editorial moment. This is great. It'll be like the most fun thing I have to say, and I haven't said this yet either, because we just signed it last week. But I was home for my high school anniversary in April, in Winnetka, and I grew up in a beautiful 1939 Speakman English cottage, and it was very much like the beginning and the end of my interior designs. When I do think the North Shore of Chicago, if you haven't been, has beautiful cottages, and so that was my style when I started out here. Steve Giannetti and I and Brentwood were putting these all over, and people called it Hamptons or traditional. I was like, it's not Hamptons. You're wrong.
Right.
It's a different style. This is Chicago cottage. So I went back with some friends from high school. I knocked on the door of my home because I wanted to see it. We lived there for 25 years. And this adorable girl answered, and she just finished working with Summer Thornton on something. And I was walking around and marveling how it was similar and then totally different. And she wanted to put on a whole new extension. You see where this is going. And now I'm the interior designer on my childhood home.
Is it bring up a lot of memories and remnants? Are you trying to recreate or take it to its next level in future?
That's a really good question. I think I'm trying to take it to this next level in the future. But I mean, I was in the den where I came out when I was 16 years old. I was in the bedroom where I had my first kiss. You know what I mean? Like, there's talk about energy and souls and
right.
talk. Like, there was so much in there. But no, I think I want to do what I always wanted to do, which was bring in a contemporary element. Something I love is juxtaposing tradition and super modern. Think of like a house in London where it's a brownstone in front and then an Apple store and back. So we're going to sort of do that approach where we're bringing in really contemporary bridge architecture.
Fun.
It's exciting. Yeah.
That would be fun. Jeez. Man, a lot of stories. Yeah, it's true. You can never, you have gone home now. Well, how do you see the future of interior design evolving, and what role do you hope to play in it? I mean, you have a lot of things going on, a TV show and a book, but is there anything else that you want to contribute?
Another thing I have to be careful about saying, but the most exciting thing in my life that I'm working on is interior design, artificial intelligence. Really? I have been approached by an amazing tech firm. So I'm considered the founder and the chief creative officer. And we have some really exciting things happening. These people brought their software to me a year ago, and it was sort of apocalyptic to see what they think, because it felt like, oh God, this is the end of interior design in a few years. And of course it's not. Of course, there will always be a place for all of us. Right. The experience, like I said, is an emotional one. People want
and tactile, and
absolutely tactile, no question. But this hasn't been on the luxury space yet. So you've seen things like this where you can click and upload images and change different stuff. It hasn't been on the luxury space. So I'm all about AI right now. I actually think that if we lean into it, that they can only help everyone once you get past the fear of seeing what it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I also like the idea of bringing to the country, the rest of the country, a luxury style of interior design. Restoration hardware is not the be all and end all of luxury interior design. God bless everything. I wish I were him, or at least I wish I had his, all that money that he's printed. But
right.
I think they've made wise decisions with my friends Allison Berger and people who they have there as craftspeople. But why can't we try to bring high style as if it were a luxury automobile, like an Aston Martin or a Bentley or a Ferrari? Why can't we bring that to Iowa? We should be able.
Yeah.
Why doesn't, especially Instagram has done it, right? Everyone's eye is more curated faster. People know a lot more than they do now. So what we're trying to do is show them what their lives look like instantly with a selection of different designers.
Fantastic. As long as it's not farmhouse look.
Oh, I'm so done with modern barn. So done with modern barn. I'm with you.
It fits in Texas. Okay, keep it in Texas.
Keep it in Texas. That's what I said. Rustic, I am not, baby.
Well, what legacy do you hope to leave through your work in interior design? Is there a particular mark? I mean, you've done so much in a short amount of time. Is there anything that you want to say? Adam Hunter was here.
A good human being. I just turned 50. I'm having so much life thoughts right now. My own version of my midlife, let's say, moment, not crisis. And I realized that being a really good human and running an ethical business and having employees stay 12 years and people who want to work for me, and keeping my relationships, doing multiple homes, saying, oh, yes, we love him. He sang me down the aisle, which I did for my client in Nashville, Tennessee when he got married. And my clients own the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm going to sing the national anthem in Pittsburgh in a month.
Wow.
So I think it's those experiences and not shying away from the theater or from Broadway, but using it to incorporate a certain sense of magic and warmth and kindness into interior design, which is not necessarily known for. It's known to be a little bit snobby and bitchy, and everyone keeps things close to their chests. And certainly, as we know through marketing, very political, very political. So I'm trying to bring the goodness, bring the theater to design.
I mean, being a boy from Chicago and being LA, what has changed that you've seen in the industry since you've started and are now there full time as a creative?
How trends have caught up. When we go to Maison d'Objet in January and we see all the new beautiful things, we have, being an interior designer is being a forecaster. You're predicting the future because these homes are 2 to 3 years that we do. And so you have to think of what it will look like then. And then you have to think of what it will look like, in 10 years. For example, my national product was a little industrial modern barn, but that started in 2012 before there were anything like that. Now it's down to the spec homes. The minute it's dribbled down to spec homes, you're out. But I think that, remind me of your question. This was a really good question. Sorry.
From your transition in your journey, starting in Chicago and then moving to LA, starting a business, what have you seen changed in the industry, and what has changed you as a designer and a creative?
Thank you. So what I meant is, I hate to use the word trends, but we get to see the beautiful things at Maison, and then years later, you would see someone like Restoration Hardware adopting it. It happens in a matter of months now. And I think it's really important to educate your clients, because I find often that clients don't know why a sofa is $25,000. Why is Vladimir Kagan different? What was Jean-Michel Frank's influence? And I think that they do understand Rolexes. They do understand their automobile. They'll spend $150,000 on that, but $150,000 for their lower level of their house. What are you talking about? So I think that educating them about the money and how things are spent, because you can rip everything off. And now, thanks to Instagram and Shopify and all the things, it's getting very, very watered down, which is something I'm trying to sort of protect in a way with this AI company. I'm trying to bring the high-end vendors and the people and the designs to one place where you could have that. But I would say the greatest thing is absolutely social media and ripping things off so quickly. So by Maison, if we're there in January, by April, West Elm has a version of it.
Right. I mean, not everything comes from, and I mean, they do a good job, Wayfair, Etsy, there is
they absolutely do. They do. There's a place for it, but it also sort of feels like disposable furnishings. Do you know what I mean? Things that are going to last.
True. And I think a lot of clients or people, just like we do through our lives, you want your hair to look like this, or you want your house to look like this, but does it fit within your lifestyle? Is it really part of your personality and character?
Yeah, exactly.
Has there been a time in your career that someone asked you to install or implement something in the design, you're like, I cannot do that?
That's a great question. Yes. And
we're not censored, so you can tell me whatever.
I know. I'm trying to think. Well, in the beginning, I was nervous. We had sex rooms early on, chic sex rooms. I don't really know what else to call it. And I sort of grabbed my pearls at that, being fresh out of the gates. And so, but that was something that ended up being sort of fun. But I think what you have to do when someone presents you with a crazy idea, and they do all the time, is validate what they say first. So like, oh my God, that's a great idea to have purple polka dots. I fucking love purple polka dots. That's brilliant. And then figure out a way to completely not do it.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of validating and then giving them maybe 10% of what they want, so they feel like they've been heard and seen. And I do think that's the important interior design Svengali moment, where you're sort of developing and changing and using language to get what you want.
Right. Well, going back to just the question beforehand and throwaway design and doing what you're doing now, do you think that is going to be part of the process in having more design be more sustainable and legacy, where people are actually keeping it longer, or it's just needing to be reupholstered or refinished, or
That's such a good question. I think there's a difference between, like I said, trends and also emotion. So it's happened where you got divorced or you're widowed or you want a fresh start. I do believe in starting over. I'm doing that for myself right now. I'm having that moment like I was talking about. I'm building a new home and I'm calling it monk chic because I want it all. I'm doing plaster and concrete and cashmere. And I've never done this before. It's all about, and tactile. Everything is soft and everything is, there's no color. I've never done that either. But I'm doing my version of what that's like. But that's an emotional reason, right? So that's why I think it's important that that's done for that reason. But I do think people are now, especially the Real Housewives of Adam Hunter, as they call them, are changing their house every fall. And to me, I think it's more important. I think it's important to live in those things. I think it's important to see where your son scratched the floor, or someone told me the other day in their beautiful new leather sofa, he carved his name with his fingernail in the sky. And I was like, but that's such a great story. That's such a great moment. I mean, fix it as best as you can, but you can always remember those things, So the natural patina and the timelessness is important, but I'm also all for emotional change. Physical. Yeah.
Right. I used to draw on the walls. I won't tell you what I drew, but I used to draw on the walls.
Me too, actually. It's funny to say that.
You mentioned you're doing your own house. Are you your own worst client? And is this a midlife crisis phase?
Yes. Yes. No question about that. The quick story of that is my first home, which was featured in AD, if I might be so braggy, was my ode to French modern. And again, it was sort of before you were seeing this. This was about 10 years ago. Chevron floors, these were all new things. Very, very, very quiet, very minimal and modern, sort of James Turrell meets Clinging Court Flea Market. You know what I mean? So again, there was that tension and juxtaposition, and I loved it. But everything I like to do is light and bright. My office, I think I showed you this before. This view is all about glass and light. I think that that's super important. So for my next apartment, I wanted to do the opposite. I wanted it to be swarthy, dark, sexy, 70s, chic, coked in, Tom Ford, like all the things. And I lived in a beautiful condo, and I achieved that perfectly. And it is on the cover of a magazine as we speak. And I hated it. I built a prison.
Do you buy all the copies and throw it out?
Honestly, the cover looks great and the pictures look okay. But what I had experienced there, COVID, growing up, being where I wanted to be professionally and not necessarily in other areas of my life, is what was trapped and caught in them. And that's what I mean by starting over. So that's what monk chic is to me. It's a complete blank slate. And it's sort of a different thing that I've ever done. So you know what? It is coming easily to me. And I think that it must mean that it's the right thing. The other one did not. It took 3 years, and I was importing pyrite tiles from Egypt. And Tom of Finland did a special wallpaper collaboration with me because I wanted that grab your pearls sex moment in my powder room. See, that's how I've evolved. At first I was like, oh my God, and now I want it for myself. But like, my point is, you can build a perfect showroom, which is really what it was. And I was assisted by all my friends, Thomas Lavin, Una Milan, Holly Hunt. All the people gave me so much wonderful moments to add to the home, and I hated it. So, so midlife crisis. Yeah, we're past the crisis point. We're into the new chapter part.
There you go.
In my book, that monk chic moment is definitely going to be sort of the opening, and my new home will be on the cover.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to it. So what motivates you and inspires you as a creative and as a person?
Movies, TV, film. That's not a very sophisticated thing to say. Traveling, of course. I just got back from St. Bart's for my birthday, which was amazing, and everything is so French Caribbean chic. Now, so I'm there. So I do think we're influenced by going to Morocco next week. So you get that. But I love the old Hollywood glamour. I think it is fantastic. I love, like I said, the cottages of the North Shore. I love having a theater, Baz Luhrmann, who I got to work with in La Boheme, and then I worked with as an interior designer because he was doing furnishings for his the Faena in Miami hotel. So there's been a lot of crossover in that sense, which is really thrilling. But I think that integrating the things that you love that make you you is what the special recipe. Not everything has to be a derivative of Axel Vervoort, which is such a bitch thing to say. And I think that there's wonderful pathos in that. I understand that it's probably more the direction that I'm going with my new place. But I think that what's interesting and what appeals to different people to choose different designers is the recipe of your life that you have now made your interior design recipe.
If you could design an interior for any space for a person, real or fictional, who would it be and why?
What a good one. Stephen Sondheim, for sure. Stephen Sondheim is a famous lyricist and considered the icon of musical theater, and someone who did Into the Woods and so many brilliant theatrical, very visual moments. And I think he would be really open to sort of having a fanciful house, sort of in the ilk of my friend Ken Falk, maybe, which again is not my style, but it would be a stretch and it would be really fun. Right now, I've never done uber modern before, but with this Richard Landry house we're collaborating on, it's 60,000 square feet of just a glass sphere.
Wow.
And it's very similar to the Apple campus. It's part Apple campus, half Jaguar from the 60s. So that stretches me, and that's cool. I guess that would be it, but I'm definitely going to have 5 more, so I'll email you when we're done. This person, and Abraham Lincoln. And
there you go. I should have said them. Oh, sure.
Totally.
You've mentioned a few things
I would not like to design for, and I was on the list of original people to ask, would be Donald Trump.
Who?
Someone you've never heard of, especially in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oh, we won't go there.
I
know. Sometimes things are short-lived, and hopefully
that will be it.
That be one of them as well.
I mean, that's turning into politics. There are many influencers in design who are bringing that into their political world, and I've actually been tempted by some of my baited is the word by some of my followers to do that. And I do. There's no place for that. I'm sorry that I haven't brought it up here. No, I'm not, because I do think it's a very important moment in life, but I don't think it's important for designers, in my opinion. Like, stay safe, stay in your safe space.
Right. Well, I think Madam President already has her designer for the future anyway, your friend Ken.
I know she does. Yeah. Yes, I know she does. Very lucky, and I hope it's great.
I'm sure it will be.
Sure it will be.
Adam, you have a few things going on. Is there anything else that you look forward to, or what's next in your future of design, creativity? You?
It's time for me to get married. It's time for me to find the person. I was with someone for 10 years, and I was very much in love. But that's been a while, so I built my career these last 12, 13 years, and I'm ready to sort of have that moment in my life. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm really excited about this luxury technology that we're building. We already have $5 million. We're on our way to $8 billion. And it's going to really be transformative and reach a lot of people and do a lot of good. And I think also with the energetic intention of the book Safe Spaces and the TV show, that I'm sort of moving more into this design as it relates to how you feel. And that would just be an amazing place to be.
Well, you're a busy guy. How do you spend your downtime? And how can someone catch you if you're always busy?
No, that's true. Well, I'm trying. My friends say that. I'm sort of dating somebody in Madrid right now. They're like, of course he's in Madrid, because that way you don't have to visit, or that way you don't have to be glued to anything. I have really great family and friends. I wish I could say things like, I go on hikes early in the morning and I eat granola and tofu. I don't. I'm a person who loves to spend time with people, and I have 2 movie dates this weekend. And yeah, how about you? What do you like?
Well, I don't wear Birkenstocks and I don't eat granola. Well, sometimes. Travel. Travel is inspirational. It's also adventurous.
Absolutely agree. Yes.
And it challenges you in your senses. I like experiential environments and being challenged and tested. And
I totally agree with you on that. I think the reason I didn't say that initially is because I've been traveling too much. So for me, downtime now is being with family and watching something, or talking, or being intimate and having discussions. But yeah, travel. I'm with you.
Yeah, and doing this, I live in a place that you see Donald Trump flags everywhere, and being
exactly. How do you do it?
Yeah. And being a creative in my lifestyle, it's not so much welcome, but I enjoy doing this show. I enjoy my career. I enjoy traveling and being part of something and educating people.
Yeah. You're so doing that. I love that you're doing that. You have such great experience from all the design that you've done in your life, the people that you've worked for. So,
I mean, this show, the reason I started the show was, people that are design enthusiasts, they see everything in a one-dimensional form. Usually it's on Instagram or it's on a publication, and you feel the design, but do you get to meet the designer, the person behind it, and what makes them tick? And so it's like,
I love that. It's very similar to what I'm saying, feeling people.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Getting the important part, the layer underneath.
Absolutely. So I've enjoyed this. I'm not a talker. Oddly enough, I do 2 podcasts. So who would have thought?
Love it.
Well, Adam, do you have anything to add? Do you want to share with us? You want to tell us?
I appreciate you bringing me on and having this conversation.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an extreme pleasure, and the best of luck to you and much continued success. And we'll have to meet up sometime when I'm in LA.
I was going to ask you. Yeah, that sounds terrific. Thank you again for everything.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure, my friend, and we will chat soon.
Awesome. Take care.
All right. Take care. You too. Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Design. Subscribe for more inspiring conversations to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes content. See you next time.